River is the latest film from writer Taylor Sheridan. This is also his directorial debut after only writing films like Sicario and Hell or High Water. And this film is set in a Native American reservation in Wyoming with two lead characters, one played by Jeremy Renner, who is this tracker hunter who helps out the people there by getting rid of any animals that are threatening them or eating their cattle. And Elizabeth Olsen is this younger FBI agent who is just wanting to help out. Their paths cross together when Jeremy Renner, out hunting one day, discovers this dead body out in the middle of nowhere. And because their skills kind of complement each other, Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner have to go out and find whoever did this. But this movie isn't some big Hollywood kind of murder mystery kind of thing. It's not like Murder on the Orient Express or The Snowman or anything like that, because as far as I know, this is based on a true story or inspired by true events. I'm not particularly sure, but I know that there is a form of realism somewhere in this story. Whether it's multiple stories or this exact story actually happened, I'm not too sure. All I do know is that Taylor Sheridan has written and directed this time a great film. And this was something I was worried about at first because Taylor Sheridan is going from a screenwriter to directing, who you never really know how that's going to turn out, because I was a big fan of Sicario and Hell or High Water, so I was just going into this film hoping that his directing isn't, like, bad, but it actually isn't. He's as good as a director as he is a screenwriter. He helms this film in a realistic manner. There's no, like, big over-the-top action scenes in this film. There is a few action scenes in this film, but they all feel really gritty and down-to-earth, like this could actually happen. And if this is actually based on a true story or true events that have happened, then that would explain a lot about why these action scenes feel so real and down to earth. But it's not just the action scenes that are very well directed. The rest of the film, though at first feels a little bit slow. If I had to have a flaw with this film, is that at first it feels like it's a little draggy and it's like, okay, I just got done with your intro, which was like a brilliant way to start the movie, and it feels like you're kind of meandering. Once the plot actually gets going, though, is when I was fully engaged. And it's a film, if directed wrong, the whole film could come across as really boring and a little unengaging, but for me, I was really enthralled by a lot of what was going on. One of the main important aspects of this film is trying to get you to understand the government's kind of mistreatment of some of these reservations. There's a few hints here and there throughout the film, but there's also an end card before the credits start rolling that will, honestly, I was shocked to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if other people were as shocked as me when they saw that end card. So it's a film that isn't poorly done in that sense, because in the hands of another director, they could have made this story just completely like offensive and like this is just completely missing the mark. Taylor Sheridan knew how to hit those marks excellently, and there's a brilliant performance in here, though small, a brilliant performance nonetheless from Gil Birmingham, who plays the father of the dead woman that Jeremy Renner discovers. And if you don't know who he is, he was in Taylor Sheridan's other film, Hell or High Water, and he is also very good here in this one. There's a lot of somberness to him. You can tell there's a lot of grief in his eyes, like in each scene that he's in, it looks like he's on the verge of tears. And you also get to see how it affects the other members of the young girl's life, because there's one shot in this film regarding that honestly made me feel like really like sick to my stomach just seeing it. Like there's just so much sadness in those scenes. It really does help make this movie feel more than just a run-of-the-mill kind of murder mystery film. It helps grounded in a sense of reality. There's no big over-the-top Hollywood crying scenes or anything like that. It's everything that feels like it could actually happen. And once again, if the true story thing is actually real, then it actually did happen, and it's a perfect way to capture that. Elizabeth Olsen did a very good job in this film, because they could have easily just made her kind of the annoying, like, hey, I'm from the FBI and I just want to help out kind of thing, like really overly bubbly or something. They also ground her character in a sense of she wants to help. She's not as experienced as any other FBI agent, but she's still doing her best each and every day, especially out here. And even in the action sequences that there are in this movie, you really get to see a lot of her character shine, to prove that she's not just some typical, like, hopeful character who needs, like, saving by other people. She proves that, yes, she is with the FBI, and though she may not be as, like, expert level as other FBI agents, she's still pretty good on her own. Hands down, though, the best performance in this entire movie is Jeremy Renner, mainly because this is, like, a whole different level of performance that I haven't really seen from him. I've seen The Hurt Locker, and he's fine in it. I don't think he's anything amazing in that. He's definitely a good actor, and I've liked him in other films like, you know, The Avengers, which is typical to say. He is a good actor, but I've never really seen something where I was like, amazed by him, and in this film he is amazing. He completely transformed himself performance-wise, just as far as his attitude and how the character completely is embraced by Jeremy Renner, because this character that he's playing is one that needs to come to terms with his own past, so in that sense he's kind of linked to Gil Birmingham's character, and you have a really touching scene between those two. And when you see how the character deals with it and how Renner portrays it as the film goes on, it's honestly really satisfying as far as character writing goes in that sense. And speaking of ending, the last 15-20 minutes of this film, brilliantly written. They did a fantastic job with the writing of that, but also the build up into that 15 to 20 minutes. There's a scene right before that sort of explains certain things that have happened. It's incredibly hard to watch. At first I was like, oh, that actor's in this movie? Cool, alright. Oh, this is the backstory, okay. And then it just keeps going, I was just like, oh no, this is bad. Oh dear. And it's like, and not bad in the sense of like they made it a terrible scene or anything, just as far as like, I'm not going to watch this movie again probably because of this, because this is a really hard scene to watch. And it's nothing like too like gross out as far as like violence or anything. It's just that what they do in the scene is it's haunting. The way they film it too, it really captures like how sick like people, human beings can be, like in that sense. And I love that scene because of what it made me feel, and it also works for the story, but it's one of the main reasons why this is a big one and done for me. So I guess if there's another flaw to this film besides it's a little slow near the beginning, is that this is a film that I can't really see myself watching again. Kind of similar to Sicario, which I still have not seen ever since I gave that original review. This movie is brilliantly well made though, and it's definitely worth a one-time watch just to see how excellent Jeremy Renner is, how good Elizabeth Olsen is, and how great Taylor Sheridan helms this film, and doesn't make it a big like Hollywood over-the-top murder mystery. It feels real, it feels like it could actually happen. The movie never misses its marks when it comes to the treatment of Native Americans, man coming to terms with past self, sickness of human beings. It's also a really gorgeous film as well as far as cinematography goes. There's a lot of snow everywhere due to where they live and what time of year that is, and it's beautiful. The way they shot it cinematography wise, it's gorgeous scenery. It's some really great cinematography here. All these elements come together. Great performances, great direction, cinematography, gritty, realistic action sequences, but a really engaging plot that in the wrong hands could have come across as boring, but it's actually really enthralling through a lot of the dialogue and character treatment between Olsen and Renner. I'm gonna give Wind River an A. If you haven't seen this film yet, I honestly would recommend you do so. Don't think that Taylor Sheridan directing it is a bad sign because he's only written before. It's not. He's as good as a director as he is a writer. I honestly can't wait to see what else this man does because he's got a lot of great stories to tell. Like you can tell, like Sicario, Hell or High Water, and now Wind River. Clearly there's more stories that he can tell, and hopefully can tell as brilliantly as the past 3 films he's done. But if you've seen Wind River, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, which you might because I'm a little late to this review, and I should probably explain something to you real quickly. Either Thursday or Friday is when I'm going to be filming my best and worst lists, and you might be wondering, but Jackson, there's so many movies that you haven't reviewed yet. Believe me, I've been catching up on a ton of films. There's a ton more films that I've watched, more than I've actually been able to review them, and just because the best lists are going to come out soon doesn't mean I'll stop reviewing those movies. I'm just, after those list videos come out, I'm just going to like push on through 2018 reviewing some of those films just for the sake of having them on my channel, you know, so there's always a place where you can just go see it. So that's kind of what I just did with Wind River. I'm still going to be reviewing 2017 movies until I'm like done as far as like which ones I've seen. Also, I have at least 3 more films I want to watch before Thursday and or Friday of filming. Call Me By Your Name, I, Tonya, and All the Money in the World, which I am seeing tonight, so I can take care of that. But as far as myself goes and the films I've been wanting to watch this year, I think I'm pretty much done, so the lists are, I'd say, pretty complete. So stay tuned for those list videos, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.